Have we been lied to about the wildfires that we saw unfolding across the continent in recent weeks? I was out there myself in Greece as it was all unfolding, hence a bit of a tan. And while the British media obsessed over the question of climate change, the Greek media was far more concerned that the source of the fires was arson. The BBC began presenting maps like this. Fire danger forecast for Europe on the 19th of July. Indeed, the map does a good job of making it look like Europe itself was already on fire. Well, on this very day, Britain's peak temperature reached 22 degrees centigrade and a low of 14, which doesn't quite match up, does it, with those molten lava tones used by the Beeb. On this programme, Jacob has covered some of the other hysterical claims made in this period in an attempt to terrify the public. Everything from dodgy heat maps to misleading Guardian articles to overemphasising the worst-case scenario forecasts from the United Nations. Well, who could forget, of course, the time that the Guardian wrote an obituary for the Great Barrier Reef? But it was only last year that scientists revealed that two-thirds of the reef has the highest coral coverage since records began, apparently. World-renowned statistician Bjorn Lomborg of the Copenhagen Consensus Centre has pointed out that there are some serious problems with the prevailing narrative that climate change has set the world on fire. Here are some points that you won't find reported much in the media that seems to be consumed by climate hysteria. So Al Gore might call them inconvenient truths. Now, since the early 2000s, when 3% of the world's land caught on fire, the area burned annually has been in decline. This is according to the Royal Society. In 2022, the world hit a new record low of 2.2% total burned area. The world leading authority on climate change, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC to you and I, does not attribute the areas burned by wildfires to climate change. Whilst wildfires are slightly up in the Americas, they are actually down in the rest of the world. And even so, last year, American fires burned less than 1/5 of the average burn back in the 1930s. Well, look, lo and behold, the Greek government has officially now blamed the recent wildfires on arson or negligence. None of this is to say that climate change isn't a very real and serious problem, and there are things that human beings can do to help deter its damaging effects on the planet. But the point is, my point is really, that we have to treat the issue seriously and not hysterically. Being hysterical and propagandistic will do more harm than good to the cause of environmentalism, because the public will find out that they are sometimes being lied to. Just look at the actions of Just Stop Oil. Polling shows that the public are clearly not on their side, and some members of the public have demonstrated their discontent with the group quite forcefully. But this eco-hysteria has not only infected the media, as evidenced by the BBC's dodgy heat maps or Sky News' North Korean-style climate change programmes, but it's also infected our political parties. Just look on the front page of the Mail today. Just Stop Oil activists have been secretly taped boasting about how their tactics have helped to shape Labour Party's policies, insofar as the party's opposition to the new North Sea gas and oil licences. It's no secret that the same man who funds Just Stop Oil, Dale Vince, has also provided a lot of funding for the Labour Party. But it's not just the Labour Party, is it? It's the Conservative Party too. And this hysteria is trickling down into policy. We are on track to ban gas boilers and all new builds by 2025, despite the average heat pump costing more than 12 grand. Net zero policy is set to hit the property sector too. Landlords won't be able to rent properties if they don't have a certain energy performance rating. This will inevitably hit supply and could potentially make renting even more expensive. The ULEZ expansion is set to hit the poorest in society when it is implemented at the end of the month. It's clear that the worst off can't afford to upgrade their cars that will be hit by charges. And of course, we have the disastrous upcoming ban on all new petrol and diesel cars by 2030. We've said it before on this programme, at least Jacob has. Apparently the cheapest electric car on the market is around 20 grand, so it's not a snip, is it? And perhaps that is why Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch has reportedly been pushing back on the government plans to fine car manufacturers for missing electric vehicle targets. So, we have climate hysteria based on quite selective data. It's being pumped out by some useful idiots in the media at times who are happy to overtly lie to whip up fear. And that then means that political parties enact unaffordable and at times unachievable policies put forward by eco-zealots and those policies have to be paid for by the taxpayer. And that, for me, is the key bit at the end there. Ultimately, it is the taxpayer that loses. I think we need to start calling this stuff out more. Otherwise, you may well all go skint way before you all burn to death.